Wonder when you would get here.
My mouse wouldn't work. It's an MX Master, by the way.
Indeed. Well, good to see you anyway. This is the first show in like what, 2 months, something like that.
Yeah, more than that.
It's been a minute. It is what it is. Welcome back, those faithful viewers, those who are on our newsletter. You'll see this tomorrow. But yeah, we got some more Canvas goodness, hopefully for you, who whether you're a student, whether you're a parent, instructor, or administrator, or whatever. Some really heartfelt. What's up, Matos? Some hopefully some strategies that are going to make your life a little more simpler tonight. We're going to go through two ideas here. First, using that syllabus page to really allow parents and students to find their assignments quickly rather than having to hunt through all the modules. And then second of all, making every page an assignment in Canvas. And we'll go through that as well. So those are the two ideas. So we'll knock them out. But first, as always, we'll start with our Ask a Software Developer question, Webs. And that question is like, how do you personally simplify your job on the daily? Like, what kind of things do you do to kind of keep things simple?
Oh, I'm the software developer still, huh?
I mean,
what do I do to simplify my job? I mean, I think I've talked about this before, but definitely automation. Also, my dryer's totally running. Is it too loud?
You're good.
Okay, cool. Definitely automation. I mean, I've talked about this before, but anywhere I can that I can set things up so that they take care of themselves, that's definitely part of it. I live and die by my calendar. And actually, that's a good example of automation. I have it set so that when I add events to my work calendar, it gets added to my other work calendar so that if people want to schedule things with me on my You Can Book Me, those times are already blocked out. And I've been working on like an application that will cross list all of my events on all of my calendars because I have about 8 of them. And so a lot of it is relying on automation. Where I can't do automation or investing in the automation is going to take me too much time, then I make sure I have lists or I have routines that I can rely on so that it's kind of, I build in this automaticity so that I do the same process every time. And that makes it so that I don't have to think as much about it. Like I just follow the same steps. Recurring meetings are a beautiful thing. Setting up the Zoom links on my recurring meetings makes it so that I only have to do it once and then it's always there and it's always there by default. There is no, oh, let me send you the Zoom link right before blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so those are having systems, I think, is a big piece of it. Like knowing in advance where I'm going to put stuff and how things are organized means I expend less energy trying to figure out where to put things. So maybe not simplify, but like having structure around stuff simplifies what I have to think about. Reduces my cognitive load, which is what I'm reading about this week for my Foundations in Technology and Learning class.
I think those are all solid things, and that's kind of going to be our theme for tonight. You don't have a lot of time if you're an instructor, especially now with, upwards of 40, 45, 50 kids in the classroom. You don't have the time necessary to, nor should you have to spend your own free time doing a lot of work for your job, right? How can we make those things a lot easier given that we have a system that will automate a lot of the work for you, or will make we're going to talk a lot about defaulting to asynchronous work, right? The getting away from this, I have to teach in front of people all day and I have to be live and not a way to keep the burnout down, I don't think. and also not a way to really utilize the materials and the tools that we have at our disposal webs in order to do some dynamic stuff. So let's get to it. The problem. So yes, as I transition away from public education, looking back on my career, one of the
Wait, what? Transition away from public education.
yes, I will be
Are-
transitioning away from public education. I will be starting a new job that is not a public school teacher job. Um, Still involved with education and public education, just not in front of students every day. So, yes, I will be leaving. We'll get to the specifics of that move at some later date. But yes, this is my last week was my last week actually instructing students in the classroom. This week will kind of be like I'll sub for people, I guess, this week, and then like Friday is my last time as a Clark County School District teacher. My last day, rather, as a Clark County School District teacher, which means what is it, 16, 15 years at CCSD, some grades like that. But anyway, I digress. Now, in terms of the hustle tonight, one of the things that I have noticed since we've been back is again kids who were free before go to the bathroom, get snacks, hang out with mom and dad, put work off until they were prepared to do it, are now being housed again in a system in which those students have to ask for permission to do bodily, functions, wait until a specific time to eat lunch, catch the bus at a specific time, and of course there is some discomfort and tension there, as one would kind of predict. Webs.
So there's a TikToker that I follow who lives in New Zealand, and he was asking people what's a hall pass because apparently many other countries don't have hall passes. Like if kids have to go to the bathroom, they just say, "Hey, can I go to the bathroom?" And then they go to the bathroom and come back again. And there's no like escort needed. They don't have to go in pairs. There is no like, which I think just further reinforces how in the United States school is prison.
I mean, it's an interesting dynamic, and the longer you are in it, the more you start. I'm not going to say that because some people are in a long time and never contemplate these things. But when you have worked different places, like I've always grounded my expectation of American education in my time in Taiwan, right? I'm not going to say that there was less stress, but we were less outwardly stressed. Like it was less. People were people had longer fuses. I'm going to say. Second of all, we had 3 recesses during the day. Like chop the recesses, the kids go to school for an hour or so, we go outside, run around for 15 minutes, go back to class. There was like this understanding of what was necessary for people to be healthy in the system, right? There was naps. We ate lunch for 45 minutes. The kids cleaned the school up. It was this like culturally, it was a lot more healthy. Unfortunately, I think our school system is a factory model, right? It's based on a factory model, hence it is a factory model. You will stand by the machine and pull down the lever to make the widgets over and over again. And we got so many widgets we have to make every day, and if you don't make those widgets, then you get punished. Which again is akin to the prison situation in a lot of ways, but like I'd never realized how important going to the bathroom when you wanted to was until last school year when I had the ability to do that pretty much, right? It's just a super basic function that as humans we should all have the right to go to the bathroom when we want. But yes, that is that in having a prescribed time to eat food, right? I can't eat food except for these times. And if I miss those times, then suddenly I'm just hungry until the next time I can have prescribed food. That's also kind of has baffled me going back so far. But how do we have a situation? We also have a situation in which students are being quarantined, so they'll be out of classrooms doing virtual work. You have high transient rates still. You have kids that just oversleep. The school that I'm transitioning from, the first class starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, I could never have done that with my middle school days. I'm not an early riser at all. Yeah, and you gotta have a little bit of empathy for kids. But I have a lot of kids who are either chronically tardy during first hour or are chronically absent during first hour. So if I were going to teach live exclusively webs, that would be a lot of time lost and a lot of, hey, mister, what do I need to do? And that is still the most frustrating question, webs, I have given on or I have on a regular basis is, what am I supposed to do next when you're like, hey, everything is lined up for you? So that's kind of the issue, right? The other issue, webs, and I'm very interested in knowing how you all do this in the software development world, is the concept of professional learning and professional learning outside of your contracted time as an expectation of you to be able to do the work that you have during your contracted time. Is that something that happens in software development? And if it does, how do you deal with it?
So it does happen. I wouldn't say that it is an expectation. Um, Oh, maybe it is an expectation. It's not an expectation in the same way, I feel like, though. So, most of the software developers I know and work with, or just generally like professionals in tech, because it's not just software developers, it's also designers and product people and project managers. There is an innate desire to learn more about your craft and to continue pursuing knowledge about your craft. I think particularly with developers, there is a little bit of FOMO. And like, if I don't keep up on the latest of what's happening, then I'm going to get left behind. There is a very strong need to be on the cutting edge of things for a lot of people. Not everybody. Some people are content to learn COBOL and just do COBOL for their entire lives. But there is not an expectation. There's also the space, at least with the folks that I work with and the places I've worked, where you learn on the job. So if there is something we come across, a new technology, whatever, we do what's called a spike, and we will like look at the problem, research the problem, and then figure out what approach we want to take. And a lot of times that involves researching new technologies or new approaches or new archetypes or whatever, paradigms, just whatever. So there's a lot of learning on the job with what I do. That and it's integrated into what we do. It's not like layered on top of, okay, now you have to go after work and figure this out. Um, there's a lot of free resources out there just by virtue of like things like free code camp and stuff on YouTube and things different companies offer and stuff like that. There's also a lot of paid stuff. Conferences in tech are a lot more expensive than conferences in education. Um, a lot of them have gone virtual. So sometimes you can get a cheaper ticket and have it just be a virtual ticket. Um, but I think that one of the big differences I see is that there is a lot more of an innate desire to go out and just better your craft because you just want to be better at your craft. Instead of like, I mean, not to say that there aren't folks in education who do go out there and try to better their craft, but I feel like it's the majority of people in tech versus like, I don't feel like it's the majority of people in education. I think there's a lot of folks in education who are cool with like, I know what I know and you can't teach me any more than I know. So I'm not going to go seek out new things about the field. Also, I feel like education hasn't really progressed much. It's basically the same as it was 100 years ago. I mean, we go back and forth between different schools of thought, but
Uh,
it's pretty much the same.
but to be fair, though, right? You don't have like 20 plus little other people that you have to like keep,
Oh, yeah, totally.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a level of empathy in terms of like people being able to have the time necessary to be innovative, to be progressive, and not have, again, when we're talking about 50-minute time periods every day, right? A 50-minute period in which you don't have students, supposedly. And then given the subsortage, you don't have that 50 minutes anymore. You're thrust into somebody else's class to cover, a colleague's course. So you go an entire day without preparing on your salary time for the next day, the next unit, or whatever, and simply having to wing that while you're doing cooking dinner for your kid or on the weekend, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of deep. Bree, thanks for the congratulations. And Matos, yeah, inside the school buildings, you can't send more than one student to the bathroom at one time because of COVID protocols and whatnot. Um, it's very interesting how we're doing stuff, but say la vie. The other thing I would say is overall, I don't think that people come into education webs to be innovators. I think people come into education to be operators because they have some affinity toward children and seeing children be successful, but not to have to wholesale invent new things, right? I think that's another reason why when the pandemic hit, you had people who didn't have the 21st century skills requisite to go and transfer online because that's not the job, right? The job is I come in, someone hands me this script or I go off a script I've been using for the last 5, 6, 7, 10, 25 years, and then we do what we need to do. Because functionally there isn't a prescribed time in which I get an opportunity to innovate and see new ways to do things. And I had this really interesting conversation with a friend of mine in which they were, thanks, Matos. The other interesting thing about it is the summer fallacy, right? That teachers get summers off. Well, look, man, seriously, most teachers go into a coma for about 3.5, 4 weeks, and then they got to go leave because they don't have any vacation time really during the school year because you're using all that time in order to prepare yourself for what you need to get down with, right? And so I don't know.
I think that further reinforces that public education is really just about childcare. Like, as much as we would love to believe that it is about equity and giving students opportunities and learning and growth, like the pandemic has really, really shown that public education is about someone needs to take care of the bulk of the kids so that parents can go to work and support the economy.
Oh, big facts. And that's the paradigm shift I think needs to happen is allowing teachers to be operators and having another layer of individual above teachers who are essentially the designers and the innovators who can give things prescribed to teachers or at least give them the shells of the things that are prescribed so they don't have to learn every new piece of technology that's out there, right? It's just a very it's not a fair way to have the work done because again the entire state of Nevada has one learning management system. It is incredible to me that we don't have people right now working wholesale on courses that would be applicable to the entire state. Everybody teaches kindergarten, everybody teaches first grade, second grade, third grade, that you could take and cut out the pieces that perhaps are not attractive to you, places that you could perhaps make better, but that every student, in the terms of equity, the word you just used, it's now an equitable situation, right? Now it's a situation in which I'm not beholden to the technological expectations or abilities of my instructor. I now have something that if I'm able to do, make TikToks or do graphic design or if I know I have opportunities to flex that skill rather than saying my teacher doesn't know how to do these things and hence they are not allowed while I'm doing my learning.
Also, the amount of scaffolding it would provide for beginning teachers so that, hey, your tier one instruction is taken care of. If you want to toy with it, that's up to you. But if you are barely keeping your head above water, your tier one instruction is taken care of, and your job is to be a diagnostician and just figure out where kids need support. And that would so dramatically, I think, lower the amount of stress on the average teacher if you could focus on the thing that teachers really get into teaching for, which is supporting students and helping them learn.
And also allowing when it's 2:11 or whatever time you get off, I can go home and I can take a nap and I don't have to worry about not having things prepared or whatever it's necessary, right? So let's get kind of into the weeds here. And we're going to talk first, Webs, about the importance of home pages. And again, as a software developer, from a kind of a macro level, what is a home page? Why is a home page something important in terms of just as we go through the internet?
So interestingly, this I have two different perspectives on this. So a home page is essentially just the landing page. It's the place where it's the first place that people go to when you go to google.com or facebook.com or theintelligenthoodlums.com. That's the main page that has all the information. And the layout of that page is important. And I'm going to apply some of my human computer interaction learning here. Using existing paradigms when designing things like that make it so that it lowers the cognitive load of your user so they can focus more on the content you're providing them than trying to navigate the interface. So for example, one really common pattern is you'll see the logo for the icon that takes you to the homepage in the upper left corner for whatever website it is. You might have either a profile or one of those three like hamburger menu type lines in the upper right corner, indicating that if you click on that, it's going to expand out and give you further choices of places you want to navigate. We tend to see at the very bottom in the footer things like contact information, social media information. So having those patterns help us be able to have a level of automaticity with processing the page layout, where if you decided, oh, I'm going to take the stuff that's normally at the bottom and put it on the right side of the page, and I'm going to take this navigation bar and put it in the lower left corner, and now you have this added cognitive load of trying to sort through where are all the pieces that I need in order to understand what's happening. So it's really key if you want to reduce the cognitive load on the learner to make sure that the interface uses some really common paradigms of design.
Dope. Now, why do we bring up home pages? One of the things that has frustrated me very, very much about the rollout by the district was that we all had, or the Canvas champions at each um, school were charged with creating a landing page that would be consistent across the institution. Instead of having one landing page for the entire district and building it to the specifications you just met, they allowed all 330 some odd schools to decide what that looked like at their school site, to varying degrees of success. Right? You have some people who knew what they were doing and some people that absolutely positively did not know what they were doing. Add on to that the elementary school template changed completely, right, into a monstrosity that was both confusing to teachers who didn't get that template until a day before school started, right? So I had no idea how that was going to be utilized, how to walk a learner through the journey to find their materials, et cetera, right? Really, really, really irritating, extremely irritating. Excellent. So Tammy says district tries to have a consistent template for home pages. Bada bing, right? Now, one of the things that has been extremely, extremely useful to your boy has been making sure that your home page isn't the home page, a regular page that you build. And this is going to sound totally off the chain, all right, off the reservation. Let's take a look here, Webs. And so this is inside my canvas, my current canvas, right? Now, you will notice, and this is my teacher view. I'm going to go to student view here. Always like the student view is kind of dope. Now, the very first thing that the reason why my page is this way, and I'm going to scroll down. I make my syllabus page the home page, Webs. That way, parent, student, alien, whoever gets the access to the deal knows exactly all of the assignments are there. We don't need to go into the modules because the modules will confuse students sometimes. I don't know where I left off, even though little green check marks tell them where it is. I don't know where I left off. Parent emails. Like when I send my first parent email, don't worry about trying to find the stuff in the modules. All of the kids' work is going to be on the home page immediately. It is not going to have you're not going to have a situation in which you have to look for it. It's going to say what date I gave it and what date it's due. Boom, 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 boom. And the kid has the entire quarter or entire semester to get it accomplished. has saved my butt so many times doing it this way because again, it simplifies the process. Going back to what Webbs was kind of saying in terms of the predictability of home pages. Now, predictability, I don't need to see where I am in the course. I know here are all my assignments for the quarter or for the semester. When the kid is out, if the kid is in quarantine or whatever, Mr. I had plenty of emails. Mr. It's real easy to find out where my spot was because I just went down to the assignments and did the next assignment I hadn't done. Bada bing, kid. That's what I want you to do. All right. So super important in my opinion to kind of work that kind of angle. The syllabus page is built to have not only let me show the last little thing here. Not only does it have all of the assignments there, but you also have that fancy calendar there built into that page as well, right? So a kid can see on the dates that are past, when we had assignments, et cetera, the calendar is here, but it's also built into that page. A lot easier to rock and roll with in terms of just kids who, if you're teaching middle schoolers, you're teaching if you're teaching any person, myself included, Webbs is the more organized, concrete, sequential person of the two of us. I don't do like, oh yeah, let me go find this stuff. Nah. So Tammy, definitely my thing with the syllabus and having all the assignments there. One of the questions I hate all of the time was parents would send me emails like last year, where's my kid in the course? And I'm like, fam, nah. And I built my course all the way out so the kid can go at whatever pace they would like. Some kids go really, really fast. Some kids go really, really slow. But the syllabus, again, in my opinion, gives you that. Here's the due date. Here's what time it is. One of the constant issues we had in our district last year was the mental health situation. I had many former students of mine say the following. Hey, mister, I thought I was caught up in the course. And then this is secondary school in particular. Suddenly, Sunday night, I would get like 10 new assignments. But I thought it was caught up in the course. And I had one of the students who's a teacher's kid who I taught back when he was in 4th and 5th grade at a magnet school, had all kind of issues in terms of just keeping up with everything. One of the teachers kind of used the syllabus method to have all this stuff there. And he was like, hey, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do, which Webbs, you're using Canvas right now as a learning management system for your PhD. What is your experience with how they set the modules up or don't set the modules up?
Yeah, it's interesting. It varies from professor to professor. I have one class that's completely asynchronous, which is probably my favorite of the layouts. So I can't remember. I think it starts us out on the modules like page or section or whatever. That's like the default homepage. But it is all of our assignments are available to us. We can work through them at any pace and in any order we want. Information is grouped so that like from week to week, or really it's module to module because it doesn't have to be week to week. I mean, the assignments are due like, paced throughout the semester, but like all the content is chunked together. So usually we have an application exercise every week that we have to go through, and it's connected to whatever the reading is. And there's a PowerPoint, and it's not particularly enthralling or anything, but at least all the content is chunked together and it's very easy to follow. I have another class where we do like 3 readings a week, and then we have to write a paper about one of the readings. And so that one, the concepts are chunked as like modules, and then the readings are the different modules or the different like sections of the module, which is fine. That's also fine. My last class is different. There are modules, but the modules are more used as like ways of chunking up information. Like here's like the syllabus is one of the pages or modules, and it's like a Word document. And so it's also not like on the landing page, and it also doesn't actually use the syllabus built into Canvas. It's just like a Word document that is the syllabus. And assignments are released kind of at random. They aren't released like each week. They aren't released like all at once. It's just sort of randomly some new assignments will show up. And then there's like another module that has a bunch of papers, and there's another module that has like 2 Word documents, and there's another module that has like 3 other pages that are on something else. So it's not really structured like by topic or anything. It's just sort of these randomly grouped together. And that one's difficult to navigate because I always have to go find the syllabus because it's like on some random page and it doesn't use the actual like built-in syllabus. But like I said, the totally asynchronous course is probably my favorite of the layouts. That's to say nothing about the content of the course, but like as far as interacting with Canvas, that one is very predictable. It's easy to use. It's easy to navigate. It takes advantage of all the benefits of Canvas. So that one's probably my favorite of the layouts from a student perspective.
Definitely, Tammy. So morning assignments in the modules, video links and all that wonderful stuff. Yeah, definitely. And we're gonna talk about that because I was like creating modules with multiple pages first, then had a conversation with some users and they were like, hey, this is way too much, fam. And so I was like, I gotta change this, and we started experimenting with stuff. So now you will see a stark contrast between, hey, I had multiple pages, and then like every page is just an assignment now, which through the magic of HTML and the inspiration of the homey webs, I kind of played around with that. But also just in terms of simplifying it for the users, because the users are kind of peeved.
Yes, I think that's an excellent point, Tammy. No one has had instruction in designing virtual courses and how to organize courses. And I don't think it's super far-fetched in terms of like a person being capable of being able to do it. But I do think that switching mediums and understanding some of the things that are helpful to put in place from the perspective of a user, like navigating on something like Canvas, is definitely a different kind of situation. Because we saw at the beginning when a lot of folks went virtual that a lot of teachers were trying to do basically take what we do day to day in the classroom, like the everyday, hey, here's what we're doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and cram that into a more asynchronous layout like Canvas. And that was just the amount of overhead and upkeep for that was untenable. I hope that a lot of people have abandoned that idea.
It also assumes things that are not true, right? So it also assumes that I'm
Like
going to,
what?
for example, I'm always going to be on time and be in attendance in a live session, right? So I will always be there on time. I speak English, so that's not an issue going forward. Uh, this is also true, Tammy. But like the huge thing is in Las Vegas, Nevada, one has to assume that for every 10 students, 2 of them are going to be absent or tardy. So if all of the work is set up in, here's this module that's released on a daily basis, that when the kid is not there, there is no one to explain how to do certain pieces, especially when there's no video instructions or anything that's going to amplify my ability to be able to navigate this work without an adult there. Second of all, again, my question I've hated my entire career is, Mister, I was out yesterday. What did I miss? Hate that freaking question. All right, and it's another reason why I kind of turn the modules into the assignments to avoid that entire situation. It's also another reason why like video is king. Taking 15, 20 minutes to just record what you want the kids to record or find a YouTube video that walks them through how to do this stuff is far, far easier than standing for 20, 25 minutes trying to walk somebody through, especially you're talking about middle school, high school kids, where those kids are on their phones constantly. They're constantly doing all kind of manner of multimedia creation and stuff on their devices. That has been webs for my last year. The biggest takeaway is that a lot of these kids can be self-directed. They can be set up where you're going to collaborate with this kid in order to build this thing. Here's the protocols that you need to be able to follow. Here's how you divide labor. This is the due date, etc. And kids being able to work through those things with a constant check-in from facilitator rather than me running my mouth in front of the class for 25-30 minutes. Even our Spanish speaking students or our Tagalog speaking students, pairing those kids up with a language partner is able to understand the language and rocking and rolling. Everyone's happy when I'm not running my mouth for half the period, generally. Generally, there might be some kids that just love the sound of my voice, but it is what.
I feel like Tammy's latest comment is like a different way of wording exactly what you say. She says, my response now is, if only there were a place where you could go answer that for yourself. And then they look at me and say, it's in Canvas.
Bada bing. Or you have a phone and you can Google it. If it's not in Canvas, fine. There are the resources beyond Mr. Lang in which you can go and tap into to solve your problem. And it's debunking the duality of school and life and saying, when you're at school, you are alive. Hence, solve the problems the same way you would solve the problem if you were at home. You have your phone. If someone asked you what was the name of that song you was listening to yesterday and you couldn't remember the artist, you would go Google the song. You use Shazam or whatever it was. I despise this. We can't use phones at school. And then when they come in my classroom, the kids are using phones. Why are they using their phones? Because it's a resource that if I were to artificially stop them from utilizing, then suddenly I'm very, very much reinforcing the idea that this is not real life. Because in real life,
it's reinforcing that context, like, differential. The same reason that kids suddenly become helpless when they come into a classroom, because we've trained them to be that way. We've trained them to, you have to ask me for permission for everything. You have to ask me if this is okay, if this is good enough. So we've trained them to abdicate their autonomy, and then we're surprised when they won't function on their own. Because we've created this artificial context that tells them, nope, when you cross in that threshold into the school, now you abdicate your autonomy and you just do what I tell you to do. And again, they graduate high school and they can't function in college or in a job. And we're like, oh, it's a mystery. Why can't they do things on their own? Because we've spent the last 18 years telling them, follow our directions, do exactly as we say, do it our way. If you don't do it that way, then it's wrong. And, stop using your creativity.
Big facts, both Cammy and Catherine and Matos. So, the one of the things I don't do is I don't spell words. Like, I hate. How do you spell this? That's like the dumbest question. I tell kids all the time. Like, I don't really. The device will spell the word for you generally if you get pretty close. Or I had the same student do this 2 days in a row. Mr. Lang, how do you spell XYZ word? With their phone out on their desk. How do you solve that problem? Huh? I don't know how to spell it. How could you solve that problem? Tapping on the phone. Oh, I could ask Siri. Exactly. Siri, how do you spell specific? You spell specific. SP. Not that I care how to spell specific, but Siri's going to tell you how to do. If it's something that the device can tell you, why are you wasting my time and yours doing that? It just becomes a scenario, but you still have in many classrooms, don't take your phone out. Here's a sheet of paper.
Put them in those little pouches.
Yes. Yes.
I hate the pouches. Death to the pouches.
But not only death to the pouches, though, but like death to, at this point, and I'm going to say this as urban districts, rural districts, I'm not too, but I've got teacher friends in most of the urban districts in the country. And they are pretty much to a person, we all have at least Chromebooks for every kid in our district. The rural schools might be a different situation. All right. There is no way in 2021 coming back from the pandemic that you are still running off 45 million worksheets for people when you have a device for students. And the whole, well, they don't come charged. That's why we've got surge protectors and extra cords, fam. Go cop you some of them joints. All right. At this point, the world is not going to be run by people who can do worksheets. And that's kind of my biggest issue with people claiming college and career readiness and I'm teaching kids skills. we've gotten arguments about the cursive and stuff and all those other foods that people are still doing. But
Analog time telling,
analog
typing in
time, yeah,
cursive.
like fam,
3 things that don't need to take up classroom time.
That are nice hobbies to have, totally nice hobbies, but not functional for anybody that's talking about college and career readiness as we go through the 22nd century. Right.
One episode, we need to choose violence and just talk about those 3 topics.
I don't know, yo. I don't know. It's just bad, frustrating. But just give the kids a chance, man. Oh, so before we're 40 minutes in. So, second phase here is remembering Jack Nicholson, and I'm a big. I think we're both pop culture junkies. Yeah, Jack Nicholson has one of the most awesome lines of any movie in movie history. He has a lot of very iconic lines, but this one.
Here's Johnny.
Here's Johnny. That movie was horrible. Now, if it was like a good movie, I could kind of get that. But the book is
The Shining? You think The Shining was horrible?
The book is so amazing, and what Stanley Kubrick did to that book, is freaking. It should be a shame. First of all, he had people die that don't die in the book, and you're like, all right, okay, a little bit of racism there, perhaps, but anyway, we'll continue. The iconic.
The book is always better than the movie, so you can't. You can't
the
compare
book is
the book to the
the
movie.
book here is so much better than the movie. That is like ridiculous that I would even watch it. I don't even give The Shining any of my time. Like, it's so ridiculous. That movie is so ridiculous. Stanley Kubrick was a master director, master. That movie is overrated in my opinion. However, Jack Nicholson says in The Departed, at the beginning of that movie, he says, I don't want my environment to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me. And that quintessentially is what every human is looking forward to, right? How do I make my environs more the way that I like them, right? So, webs, you work with users on a daily basis. You change things due to users. If users got beef, exactly, Tammy, exactly. If users have beef with something, or you find your users to have a problem with how things work, like, what is your reaction to that? Is it, hey, too bad, learn it the way that I coded it? Or like, what do you do as a response to that?
You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth, indeed.
I thought maybe that was the Jack Nicholson quote. No. Anyway, I've never actually seen that movie, but I'm aware of it as a pop culture reference.
The Hong Kong version, the Hong Kong movie is way better. The movie is based upon is way better. Continue.
I didn't know that. Okay, so yes, this was a hard lesson to learn. I think I've told the story before, but one of the things that I had to do at one point in my job was do user testing. And when you do user testing, you are not allowed to make comments or give directions. You simply give your user either your outline or your wireframes or whatever, and you have the user talk you through what their thoughts are. So if you design a menu and you think it is the most beautiful menu ever designed and you did a fantastic job of putting all the icons in exactly the right place and designing them perfectly, and then you give it to your user and your user's like, I don't know what this means, and I'm not sure where to go on here, and how do I do this? This is really confusing. You don't get to argue with them. Yeah, Tammy, most of us can't handle the truth. That is big facts. Tammy's just dropping big facts all over the place tonight. But yeah, you can't argue with your user. You don't get to defend your design. You don't get to tell the user they're wrong, or they didn't understand, or they weren't listening to directions, or like, you have to adjust your design so that it works for the user without you being present. And I think that's a really hard thing when something you create feels, yes, if the user can't find your information, then it's useless. If it's overly confusing, if it's too busy, like, it just doesn't work. And I think especially like, I know this is another thing we harp on. We can add that to our Choose Violence episode. The Bitmoji classrooms. I know they look super cute, but for most students, I think they are not actually good. And here's why. One, are we inspiring you to choose violence? Uh, one, because they're not accessible. So you usually can't navigate them with a keyboard or a I forget what that tool is called, but you can't navigate them with a keyboard. They don't usually put the information prominently. They don't highlight what you can and can't click on. So it becomes, going back to the cognitive load thing, trying to navigate a Bitmoji classroom in many cases, depending on the design, can lead to very high cognitive load because the student has to navigate this paradigm of a classroom and figure out, like, okay, where do I need to go to click on? Yeah, I would like that very much, actually. If you want to use the characters, I think that's fine. But like the whole environment being, yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, it's too busy. It's too busy. And I'm sure colorblind students struggle with stuff like that. Screen readers, students who use screen readers, like there's just it just adds this extra layer of cognitive load that they now have to navigate on top of trying to navigate the content that you're providing them.
So that being the case, right? So Webb's just conversing with her about a lot of stuff. Like the user journey has really become very important in the classroom in terms of, could this person do my course without me being present? And that's the question I ask myself constantly. It's the reason why I build stuff and then I just kind of walk around. I don't say squat. Is this kid doing stuff? Is this kid like struggling? This kid only speaks Spanish. Is that person still able to do what they need to do, et cetera, et cetera? Definitely, Tammy. My classroom had nothing on the walls, and people thought that was interesting. And I was like, I don't want.
I had the same problem.
I don't want you to be distracted by anything other than what you're trying to get accomplished. Forget the walls, bro.
Like I would leave my classroom blank and then build the walls as we went through the school year so that everything that we put up, the students knew why it was up there. They knew where it was instead of them having to try and take in everything that's in the classroom all at once.
Yep. Oh,
Also true.
That's the job though. My job is to get paid for doing nothing. And so if I can take a month of my summer so that I can take 180 days off, that sounds like the hustle. All right, so this again, you'll see kind of delineation here with, all right, cool. I was building in with multiple pages first. And then I got to this point and the kids were like, hey, yo, mister, it's too much. And I was like, all right, what do you mean? It's like, look, man, like all these pages and it's just too much going through the pages. So I said, all right, bet. I sat down and I was like, I don't know.
Also, didn't you say that your kids were having trouble with like getting the pages completed?
So
Like
going
they
through
would like glitch.
so we had multiple like super big problems during the creation and use of pages, right? First was onboarding, right? So I was teaching an elective. I would have kids come in and out the course all the time, in and out, in and out, in and out, changing schedules, moving things around. And at the beginning, it wasn't that big of a deal because I was like, oh, okay, cool. The class went from 40 to 35 to 37 to 25 to 22 to 20. And like, all right, whatever. But I also had the issue of like more pages. Why was I adding pages? The question that I asked myself when the kids started having some trouble, like just going in sequence. Why was I adding pages? What was the benefit of multiple pages rather than having one page, right? So the thing that I really started to think about was, what would be the one-stop shop? What's the strip mall version of this thing, right? Where I can get all of my stuff in one spot and I ain't got to go outside the mall again, right? Rather than having to go from page to page to page to page, and I can instantly get the information that I needed, right? And so it became building the tabs into one assignment. And this assignment is over now so that you don't have the start assignment button up here. But having kids be able to go through and go from tab to tab to tab to tab, that was a lot easier for students, especially with the immersive reader and stuff built into it. became a lot easier. It was one assignment for the entire week. They could do one of the tabs per day. They could do multiple tabs per day, whatever it was. And it wasn't as time consuming for me as a teacher in terms of having to build the different pages. All the assignments ended up on the syllabus page so that a parent or student knew exactly where, even I didn't even have to come to the module page anymore. I can go right to the assignment page, click on it, and then suddenly it's there, right? And all the information necessary to complete the assignment was there rather than me having to backtrack through a module, right? And also as a teacher, kept me honest in terms of like, okay, this is going to either be 5 steps, 3 steps, or sometimes just 1 step. But 5 or 3 steps is kind of how I kept it. Introduction, the explanation all the way through the process. If they need to work with a partner, hey, what partner you can choose or whatever. And the assignment page really made it so that, first of all, because we use IC, that assignment went automatically to Infinite Campus already. I didn't have to worry about that stuff. And I also, again, started to plan with the idea that if I built it in one page, again, it's nigh impossible for the kid to get lost because it's one page. We're not talking about 5 pages inside of a module. And then when I was helping kids build stuff or helping kids navigate stuff, I was like, look, fam, I can tell exactly where you are. I don't have to go backtrack through a module. It's 1 page, not 5, right? So really saved my bacon in terms of just simplifying it. It was all because students, just observing students. Exactly, Tammy. The module is now 1 page rather than 5 pages. And I think that saves, if I'm a teacher, it saves me in terms of teacher cognitive load. It lessens your cognitive load as well, because now you don't have to learn all the different pages at one time. You can learn 1 page, exploit the devil out of it, and outside of the quiz page, you don't need the other ones. Like, unless you were just going to build the quizzes inside of Canvas because you wanted to do a multiple choice test or whatever it is, you could essentially do discussion and everything else right inside of that page. In my discussion, we kind of talked about that way back in the last season. My discussions were always my bell work. So the kids went to discussions first, did their bell work there. All the discussions are then lined up very, very nicely and neatly, and then they went to their modules. So you did have that synchronous time where kids were working all together. If there was, some kind of project, some explanation, you had to work with somebody. That's when everybody was doing the same thing, and then you go to your modules and you're good to go. Webs, anything?
I was just gonna say, like, going back to what you were saying at the top, where if you have the syllabus as your landing page and all you're building is assignment pages and all of your content is built into that assignment page, now when a student or parent needs to remember where to go, they just go to whatever assignment is next and all of the content is already built into that assignment, which is really nice. Like, then they kind of know, there isn't that navigating of now I got to back up and figure out where in the module I was. It's a matter of like, okay, let me click between these 3 tabs and see what I remember.
And then the other thing is, essentially, there's a lot of other kind of higher level Canvas skills you can utilize here as well, but this is like a very easy entrance way into simplifying the task for both the teacher and the student by just breaking it up into how many days a week are there? There are 5 days. How many tabs do I have? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If that's how I was thinking, great. Monday, here's our introduction. Here's my video that's going to show me how to do that. This is the one on video editing, right? So that's just a video for them from PBS. They click that thing, it sends them to PBS or whatever. And then I do the actual instruction. How do you use Pixlr and Unsplash in order to blend photos? Here it is. How would you use Adobe Spark to do the very same thing? Great. And then lastly, what is your assignment is to create the photo. If this was still a live assignment, that big start assignment button would be right there. They don't even have to leave the page to turn their work in. Click the start assignment button, they turn it in. God bless America. On to the next hustle.
Okay, but now you know what the people really want to know.
How do you do this?
How do they do that?
Bada bing. Now, the greatest thing about artists is we steal, right? So you don't have to learn how to build any of this crap. So this is just like a blank canvas module, right? So I'm gonna hit this module button here, module name, demo stuff. Excellent. I'm gonna add the module. All right. Plus sign there. Assignment. I'm gonna keep it an assignment, and I'm gonna call it some assignment. Add that bad boy. Great. I got 2 some assignments, but it is what it is. All right, great. Now, rubrics are always great, especially if you're thinking project-based learning. Hey, think about the rubric and adding those things, but right now we're not going to do that. Just going to hit to that edit button there and rock and roll. Now, the cool thing about Canvas is that all the pages are essentially set up the same way. So even though this is assignment page, it's work on the regular page, a quiz page, or whatever. So I'm going to go directly to my raw HTML editor down the bottom. Do not go to your little cloud situation here. Go to the raw HTML and click it. And now, bada bing. My man here has already given you all the code necessary to do what you need to do. You don't need to learn how to do HTML. All you need to be able to do is read and know what places to deal with and which pages to which parts of the code to deal with and which parts of the code that you do not want to delete at all. So, Accent Quest to College, I have no idea where that is, but they did me a good solid. I've got the HTML code here. It tells me to copy it. Also, you can do the highlight tabs, just the basic tabs. I generally stay with the basic ones. I just highlight all that stuff, copy it, and I'm going to throw it right inside of the HTML editor. All right, and if I switch back, bada bing, my tabs are there. Now, in terms of this hustle, just stuff to avoid. If you're going to change the text, you're going to change the text in the HTML editor, not on the regular editor here. Don't change that here. Don't change the text here. Change the text in here. So I'm going to call this. Also, like we've done some shows, having a structure for your entire hustle, right? So all your lessons should look similar. Introduction, task 1, task 2, task 3, closure. Something where it's predictable, right? So introduction.
Predictable means less cognitive load.
First deal. Second deal. Third deal. Closure project, not closed, closure project, whatever. And you'll see when I click that, they're all the way I want them to be. Intro, first deal, second deal, closure project, and project with 2 C's because perhaps, I don't know. In terms of these tabs, you can change these things right inside here, and any of the text that's here, you can change it right inside the regular editor, text editor, and you have no problems. The thing to kind of deal with, if you're, say you have an activity in which you're not going to need 5 tabs. And this is where, you know, the quasi sleuth, the webs have run off on me in terms of rub off on me in terms of just like paying attention to certain things and again looking at patterns, right? So I know that right there is going to close those tabs. So I don't want to get rid of that at any point, right? That ending caret there. But what I could do is say, I don't need those. I just need 3. I can get rid of those like that. And again, my fragments are going to tell me which the tabs. Fragment 1 is tab 1, tab 2, tab 3. Great. And I can get rid of you, Mr. Div. And suddenly I got 3 tabs and 3 pieces of information there. So you can edit that as much as you would like. You can add your videos and stuff. So I'm going to go in and say, cool. Say we're going to build haiku here. And so I'm going to hit that share button. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to my deal. And I'm going to say for the first tab, perhaps it's an introduction situation there. Awesome. I'm going to and I'm using the free version of Canvas, not the actual Whichcomb, so I don't have my Canvas favorite. So I'm just going to let me steal the HTML here. Copy that. All right, cool. Highlight that. I could edit it there, but I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it here. And you'll find where it says replace this text with your own content. Great. Bada bing, my YouTube videos goes directly where I want it to go. And it's just as simple as that. It'll operate just like you would operate any other of your pages or any other your content. The big thing is just like going into the raw HTML editor. And if you, for some reason, delete something on accident, you don't know what you deleted, just copy it over again and paste it back in there and start from the beginning. And Lord knows I've done that 5 million times. Webs.
We'll also be posting this as a blog post, and it'll include the code there if you want to copy it from our blog post. So, wait a second, but it didn't show the tabs. It was just the list.
So when I save in...
What? It's magic.
And I've got my tabs up there. And we're good to go. And again, this simplifies that entire process for your kids. Like I will tell you how easy, it's far easier for them to navigate it this way, given that once you show them intro, first deal, second deal, all right, great, and third deal, and then the assignment. So if I go here, I'm going to go to my modules very quickly. So if I go to my deal and I look at this as student view, yeah, I know. Don't care about that. Yes, I know.
But you need the walkthrough. You need the walkthrough. That's the modern day equivalent of Clippy badgering you about things.
Dude, especially when it's like, I've done this 5 million times. So your assignment would be there if I actually created the assignment, what they need to do with the rubric and whatnot. The assignment would be up here, that start assignment situation. And it just keeps everything nice and taught. So again, you don't have 75, you don't overkill the pages, right? I've seen teachers with like 12 pages in a module. And you're like, dude, no one wants to go through 12, especially with like novel size paragraphs on there. I'm good. We're going to stop. Or
so
go ahead, Webs.
Oh, so interesting, like little test that I did. I have a free course on my website for designing virtual courses for technologists. And I ran a beta and gave some people access to it. And one of the things I was worried about was I kept the content really limited. Like it was very basic, very simple, not more than maybe like a paragraph or two if I had text. Mostly videos or audio or images, something like that. And I watched people go through it, and it took them like 3 or 4 weeks to get through it, even with that amount of limited content, because they just don't have time. So it doesn't make sense. I mean, I know kids, like their full-time job basically is school, but like nobody wants to sit through that much content. Like, again, you're taxing the brain more than it needs to be taxed by dumping all that content. You're not actually adding value. But I think we have this feeling, this internal feeling like if I don't information dump all this stuff, then I haven't provided value in some way.
But I mean, my thing is, as an instructor, your job is your product. Your course is your product. And if your user is not being successful with the product, then you change the product so that the user is successful without compromising what the expectation of the user in this case is to produce. So to me, you're not cheating someone by saying, how can I condense this page of information into the highlighting the most important pieces? How do I TLDR this thing so the kid still gets the gist of what I'm talking about? And then how do I, if I need to speak to you in a far more robust way, I just record myself saying it, make sure that CC'd so that kids can read the CCs as well if they need to, but 3 or 4 or 5 minutes tops. Here's the instruction for what you need to do. My introduction, same video, another video for the next phase, another video for the third phase, another video for the fourth phase, is a far more likely to utilize the video and say, okay, cool, I understand what you're talking about, let me do that. Or taking a slide deck and really, making it super slick and super visual so that I understand what I'm supposed to do, think that's another tactic to deal with. But the expectation that you are going to have people who, even the most learned of us, right? I don't want to sit down for an hour and read 17 chapters of the book when you could have very easily condensed that down to a paragraph or two, and I could have been starting with my work a lot more quickly. There are no how many words can you read in an hour standards to my knowledge. So yeah, that's kind of how I get down with it. But the Canvas thing to me, if you use the pages and the assignments in the syllabus, it just simplifies the stuff even for novice Canvas users to be able to be successful, rather than if you open your module as a kid and you see there's 75 million modules and they all have 5 or 6 pages, that is going to overwhelm you visually, and I'm going to shut down. Like, fam, I don't want to do this crap. Like, especially if it's not the most appetizing content in the first place, right? Now I'm sitting here like, all right, I got 7. This person, one of the things that happened over the summer, right, was that people were just adding pages to a module. So you wouldn't even have a module that had like 35 different pages on it. And this is with elementary. This wasn't even in middle. Lord knows what middle school and high school teachers were doing. In elementary school, it was like, here are all the pages for the week. Nope, no thank you. Not interested, fam. Not interested. So super, super, super interesting situation. So, and ideally though, like again, it still goes back to, okay, Tammy got to mention it, Malthus got to mention it, the design, knowing where you want to go, and then backwardly mapping that to the specifications that are necessary with input from your user to say, hey, this is what I thought. The user says, nah, I ain't feeling this. Having no being able to downplay your ego enough to say, okay, I'm going to change this. And it's not a slight on me. It's a slight on, it's not a slight at all. It's simply saying how I can improve this product so it actually serves the people that I want it to serve a lot better. And I think that's another thing. Ego, we are all egomaniacs in the classroom where, hey, I am the greatest of all time. And when the kids like look at your stuff and says, you know, that's not it, fam. I think that does hurt us. It bruises us very much, Webbs. Extremely, extremely so.
I'd be inclined to agree.
Yeah, it bruises us. So like, again, you looking at it from the user's perspective that, how can I make this simple? How can I, and I always like my default now, Webbs, is again, if I was not here for an extended period of time, could my class run itself? Would a sub simply have to sit in the chair in the front or drink their coffee or eat their donut? And would my kids still know where to get all the materials, how to do the coursework, and how to be successful? If the answer to that is no, that I have to every day walk you through how to get through your stuff, then you need to redesign how the course operates. And there's no shame in that, in my opinion.
It's a learning process.
Bada bing. All right, it was good to get back on the saddle, Webbs. It was good to be back on the saddle. Huh?
Yeah.
It was interesting.
I'm gonna put our so if you go to our Twitter, even if you don't use Twitter, on our main Twitter page, you can now read and sign up for our newsletter. And so tomorrow we'll be sending out the blog post of the of this episode, basically. So if you want the TLDR and you want to just be able to skim through it and copy that code so that you can do tabs in your modules, all of that will be up on our website, on our blog. You can sign up for the newsletter if you want it directly to your inbox. Or if you want to just go to our website and constantly refresh and mess with our SEO, you can do that as well.
Indeed. All right, any closing words for the people, Webbs?
No, that's great, Matos. I don't have any closing thoughts. Yeah, I don't. It's good to be back.
It's a jungle out there, man. So teacher
it
people,
is.
like, keep your sanity. We're almost to no school November. We're almost there. A couple weeks. Once we hit Nevada Day, Nevada educators will be good. We've got you got that day off and whatnot. And even though I'll be outside the classroom, I will still be in school. So if you're someone who wants to collaborate and whatnot, as my new job kind of evolves, it's going to give me the opportunity to like collaborate with people. in real time and stuff, and kind of hang out and whatnot. So it'll be cool to be in more than one classroom. I think that's kind of what was very attractive about this job, was to be able to go into different classrooms and help everybody else. Indeed. All right, Matos. All right, and that's all we got for tonight.
Yep. You can always check us out on our website, theintelligenthoodlums.com. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube. I think that's everything.
That's Twitch got hacked.
So yeah.
I'll re-enable Twitch next week. So
yeah.
So
yeah.
Watch your password. I will, Matos. I will. All right, catch you later. I'm about to do
All right, cool. Yeah.
Hasta la pasta.
Bye, everybody.